back to the channel. It has been a very cold week. We started off last week with snow and it was beautiful and lovely, and then it promptly turned to ice, which has lingered for a week, and my city is not prepared for ice and single-digit temperatures, so it has been a very interesting week to say the least. But you know, we're warm inside with a nice cup of jasmine green tea, and yeah, today I'm here to talk about goals, as you will have seen from the title of the video. I want to talk about my bookish goals and then some of my just like general goals for 2024. So yeah, let's hop right in. In terms of bookish goals, I am keeping the same reading number that I've had for years, which is 52 books, because that's a book a week and that's totally doable. And I also just don't care how many books I read. I think in 2023 I read less books than I read in 2024, which was like the first year in a while that I read less books than the year before. And it is what it is. Like, I'm not fussed about it, and I am not going to be fussed about it this year. I actually would welcome reading less books, as long as I acquire less books in the same vein, just because I think, well, that actually leads into my second goal, which is to listen to less audiobooks and to dedicate more time, like reclaim that time for music and silence. And I say that not because I have anything against audiobooks. I think anyone who's been around this channel long enough knows that I love audiobooks, and one, they're a huge tool for people who need them and can't read books any other way, but also they are something that really can help you, you know, if you are in a place where you just like are finding it difficult to pick up a book. Listening to an audiobook is really helpful for those of us who find it difficult to read in a vehicle. They're a great tool for that. But for me, I am finding that it's a little too much, honestly. I think Ruby from Ruby Red had a really good perspective on this. I actually took this goal from her goals video, so I will drop hers down below. I encourage you to go watch it. But really, it's just that for me, I haven't listened to music in so long, and I used to really love music, and so I just am taking this year to use the time that I have in the car to listen to music, to be in silence, to just have some space in my life that isn't just dedicated to reading and books. And I mean, it's January, it's mid-January, and that's been really successful so far. Like, it's been a lot of fun to like belt out songs that I listened to in my teen years and college years on the way to work. It's just, yeah, it's been nice. So I plan to continue that. There will be times that I choose to listen to an audiobook just because I want to. But for now, I just am, you know, listening to less audiobooks, focusing more on physical books. I am also bringing back the challenge for myself to read the nonfiction that's on my shelf. So I'm setting this at around like 4 or 5 books out of 9. So I'd like to read roughly half of them, or at least give them a shot. And if they don't work out, then DNFing is fine. But it's funny because I looked back on previous years and was astounded at the fact that like I had an entire category for my favorite nonfiction, because I had read enough nonfiction in the year to be able to choose like 4 favorites out of a bunch of nonfiction books. And last year I feel like I only read like 2 nonfiction. I read very few, I know that. So I definitely want to make sure that I am prioritizing nonfiction and reading it throughout the year. So I've got a lot of things on my shelf that I'm really interested in, so I want to make time to read those along with my fiction books. So that is definitely a goal that I will be bringing into 2024. And then also, of course, I always would like to get my physical TBR down lower. This is, again, not something I stress about. I don't think I've ever, like in the 3-ish years that I've made this a goal, I don't think I've ever met it. So I always set it a little aggressive. This year I'm setting it at aggressive for me. At 45 books, because I currently have 60 books, I think, on my physical TBR. I ended the year of 2023 with 60 books on my physical TBR. So like 45 sounds like that's only 15 books, and if you read 52 books in the year, easy. But also I acquire books throughout the year, roughly at the same rate I read them. So I would just like that to be a little more lopsided in terms of me reading more than I am acquiring, to continue getting that down. And I know to a lot of you, having 60 physical books on my TBR is already a tiny set of books, but for me, I think 30 would be optimal, just because sometimes when it's 100% about the fact that the longer a book lingers on my TBR, the less likely I am to enjoy it. And so I don't want to create a system where there are books just like sitting on my shelves for years that then I end up not enjoying, DNFing, or just unhauling unread. So I'm wanting to keep a manageable TBR that I can essentially like turn over throughout the year. So like I could easily read all 30 books on my shelf and acquire 30 more, and constantly have like a rotating library of 30 books. I would never want a 0 TBR. That actually makes me want to throw up thinking about it. But I think that 30 books is kind of where I want to land eventually. But right now we're still baby stepping down to 45. And I've made progress over the years ever so slowly, and I am happy with that and with the progress that I continue to make in getting it to a manageable level where I can read those books in a year, and not have them sitting on there forever. And to be honest, I feel like I am at a good point, because the oldest books on my physical TBR are from 2020, that I've owned since 2020. They were published all kinds of years, but like I don't have any books on my shelf that I've owned longer than 3 years. So that's nice, but also I want it to be newer than that, or whatever, you know what I mean. I've already talked about this enough. Moving on. So I also really want to so I already got it planned, but I really felt great about my trip to Asheville last year, but this year I decided I want to do like a reading retreat. So I have already scheduled that. So this goal is planned but not executed. And I found a beautiful little, very unique cabin in the woods for me to just have a few days by myself, focusing on reading, focusing on quiet time, focusing on just like refreshing, rejuvenating, no other responsibilities. I'm going to pack in the food that I'm gonna eat, and I'm gonna cook there, and I'm just going to exist. It has a beautiful bathtub. I'm very excited about this, but I think that will be a really good thing for me this year. And then I also would love to visit 2 new to me indie bookstores this year. I have a few in mind that are like within driving distance, but also depending on like any travel that I might do this year, I would love to visit 2 new indie bookstores, or 2 new to me indie bookstores. And then one that sort of goes along with that like rotating TBR idea. I would like to read at least 50% of the books that I bring in a given year. This is something that I in past have done really easily, but in 2023 I don't remember the stat off the top of my head, but I was very off of this. Like, I was not close. I want to say that it was like 60 to 70% of the books that I acquired I had not read, which is not encouraging for me, because I like to buy books, but I also want to buy things I want to be reading. So to have bought that many books and not read them, not prioritize them, it just feels very much like I could have waited to buy some of those books, and should have probably waited to buy some of those books. So this is just, again, me trying to read the books I'm excited about when I bring them into my home, so that I can really just like relish that excitement. So yeah, I had in here that I want to judge 2 rounds of the BookTube prize. I'm actually going to play that by ear, just because when signups came around for the first round, I just was like, I can't right now, because I very much, like, it's January 21st, I think, and I've finished 2 books, and I feel great about the 2 books that I finished, but the prospect of spending February and March reading books that I'm not excited about, or that weren't books from my physical TBR that I want to read, gave me anxiety. And so I decided that I would sit out round 1, and then when signups come near the end of March, I will reevaluate and decide if I want to participate in round 2. So that's really where I am with that. So I kind of like took that off the goals list, just because it's not something that I feel like I have to do this year. It's something that I enjoyed. I enjoyed the process, if not the books, last year. And I just currently in January, I'm not in the headspace to join that right now. All right, so let's talk about non-bookish goals. So I'm gonna give you themes here, because you don't really need to know the nitty-gritty of some of these. The thing I will say is that my word of the year, so the word that I'm going to infuse throughout the rest of 2024, is simplicity. So I want to simplify as much as I can. So that shows up in my goals in the fact that I want to intentionally declutter my life. So intentionally decluttering my house, thinking about the things that I choose to participate in, just really focusing on making things simpler. That is, I think, as I went through 2023, it was such a busy and difficult year, but I also felt like I was treading water, and sometimes barely that. And when at the end of the year I just looked around our home and thought, God, there's just so much stuff that makes it so difficult every day to like feel good about my space. And so much of it is not stuff that is like meaningful to either of us. So that is kind of where this came from. And I think also that goal around making space for music and silence is also kind of born out of this as well. So just really giving myself the space to like slow down and just not worry about numbers and you know, the hype and all of these other things. So really decluttering my life is going to be the main focus of this year. We've already done such a great job. We actually had some people over this weekend, so we had to do some cleaning, and we, in the process of that, were able to get like 3 or 4 boxes of donation stuff out of the house. We gave away prizes, and I used some of my mugs to give those away as prizes, because then they went to homes of people who were really excited about them. But I have probably 100 mugs, and I can't possibly use them all. and they're taking up space and they're not getting used. And you know, I'm just trying to think of creative ways to shed some of the things in my life. Also, last year I had this huge list of projects and things that I wanted to do around our home to really continue to make it our own. And I think both my husband and I found that when the list was as long as it was very overwhelming. Or when it was as specific as it was easy to get distracted or to get derailed or discouraged. And so for me this year, I really want to tackle 2 small home projects. So whatever those may be, just inch towards the goals that we have in terms of the house and making it more our own, and just like bringing it to a place that really gives us a lot of happiness and joy and peace. So I'm going to tackle 2 small house projects this year, along with all of that decluttering. And then again, I want to spend more time with my family, specifically with my husband. I feel like with everything that I had going on work-wise last year, he and I didn't get to spend nearly the time that we would like to together. So just finding different ways to spend more time with him, finding time to get away, just the 2 of us, and enjoy some peace and quiet. So that's really a goal of mine. I have some health and wellness, mental health goals peppered in there. I need to get a therapist because I don't have one. And continuing on my financial goals in terms of just like investing in a way that ensures financial stability for myself, for my family, for my child in the future. Because this is just a very volatile world that we currently live in. So yeah, that is really what I'm looking at for this year. I know my personal goals were pretty vague, but it really genuinely is all centered around the idea of simplicity. So I look forward to that. If you would be interested in like decluttering vlogs in any way, I think I'm potentially going to do like productivity sprint type things where I do reading and decluttering at the same time, because that always motivates me much more to do both of the things. So I may include that in like a mid-month book bash vlog or something like that in the future. But yeah, I am looking forward to this year, and I'm even more looking forward to the end of this year when hopefully everything will be just that much lighter. So yeah, hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye!